Shalom, family, and thank you so much for joining us on this Yom Ahad, beautiful evening that we get to come together and join together again for another one of our narrow way discussions. And that's kind of what we came to. I came to it just realizing that everything we're talking about is about the walk in the narrow way. Everything we're discussing is about how to stay on that narrow path that Messiah himself encouraged us to walk. And so we know that the way is narrow. He told us that, the way to life. And we want to encourage all of you to remain upon that road. And I want to encourage those of you that are joining us maybe for the first time, bookmark this time every uh, weekend, if you will. We join together and get together with one another. And it's always good to see all of you here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Speaking of joining us tonight for our conversation, will be my brother Gera'el Toma. Thank you again for joining us, brother, for yet another discussion on the narrow way that we all have to walk. And I'm just going to keep saying hello to our brethren as we chat.
Shalom, Apostle Peter and Remnant, and I'm thrilled to be with you all tonight, and to be part of what Yahuwah is doing in these last days.
Amen. He is doing a work. We were just talking backstage. In fact, we said, hey, we better get out there or we'll just have this conversation here backstage without them. But we were just talking about, all the awakening that's occurring, right, brother? And
Yeah,
all the good things that we're seeing. Folks are really asking different questions, aren't they, brother?
yes, yes. People are finding, answers to their questions, and resolve, and clarity, in their walk, in every aspect, and so yes, it's thrilling to see,
It is
so
thrilling because we've waited for a long time for this. We really,
yeah,
and many of you are among that remnant that have been at this for a while. Maybe you are one of those prayer warriors, those intercessors. Maybe
yeah,
you're one of those that quietly were in the back and you were watching this fiasco that they call this circus, right? That we've now identified, but you are waiting for everyone to wake up. And maybe you're one of those people. And don't you feel amazing right now? It's people around you are going,
mhm,
hey, wait a minute. And
yeah,
you're going, oh, about finally, finally, you're asking new questions.
yeah.
Oh, what a great day. Isn't that a wonderful feeling to finally
Yes, it
have
is.
conversations with them that
Yes,
maybe,
yes,
maybe they don't think you're so crazy anymore, right?
yeah, yeah. And
It's
yeah,
very beautiful.
it is gratifying when folks, and I do get asked questions, and and uh, and 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 I let them know, especially when we had a new sister or a new couple actually, join us today, and that was recommended by a long time sister that we've known for many years, and she recommended old brother G and Truthers Journal, to her, and and light
That's
starting to
right. Don't
come
forget the
on.
Truthers Journal.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't forget
The light
that.
started, clicking, and in her, on her journey, and then then she was wanting the more information, and vetted, information that sourced
Right.
that, and needed some help along
Mm.
that journey. And so we got to introduce her to Truther Journal, and I let her know clearly that I do not have all the answers, and but I'll promise you I'll give you my best answer, what I've discovered along my journey.
And
And
maybe that's just it. Maybe we're just keep asking questions together. Maybe that's a
yeah,
better way to look at that is
yeah,
that here are
yeah,
some of the questions that we've already asked, and maybe some of the same questions you're asking. And then once you catch up with that, we've got new questions we're asking, right?
he opens
So
up doors. Yeah,
catch up, get caught up so you can catch up to the new questions we're asking now.
yeah,
Because the more we learn, right, guys? I mean, everybody's feeling this. The more we learn, the more questions we have and the more conversations we have together about how to overcome the
yeah,
slavery system, the witchcraft, diabolical plots against us, the snares of the wicked one. The more we compare notes, the more we share, the more we talk about these things together in the open, in
Yeah.
front of everybody, right?
Yeah.
He said he make a table first in front of our enemies.
Yeah.
And we need to be very clear that slavery is on its way out worldwide, all throughout the earth.
Yeah.
No, the day of slavery has come to an end in every form. And I do believe that this is one of the things that the sons of Yahuwah shine their light brightly in the name of Yahushua to declare, for whom the sun sets free is free.
Mhm.
Amen. And so slavery is antithetical to the gospel. Slavery in every form or fashion is antithetical to the message of the kingdom. And that is why we must continue to do everything in our power to awaken our brethren. Isn't that right, brother? Because ignorance is a form of slavery, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, it is. And a lot of times, and well, and every time, say we're born into ignorance, with parents that was ignorant. So ignorance is the norm. Education becomes indoctrination, entertainment becomes, hypnotism, and it just goes on. You see,
So, absence of
in
knowledge of the
politics,
Torah opened up snares.
criminals, can be politicians. You see, because
So, absence of knowledge of the Torah opened up snares because people were unaware of the principles of the Torah. For example, you are not to be surety for the debts of another, right? And so that is a violation being violated at a wholesale level. Um, and that was one of the principles that we learned in the Torah. And so again, these are all things that were taught to us, but then were removed from us, weren't they, brother? I mean, we're basically, we're not on a journey of discovery, we're on a journey of rediscovery, aren't we, brother?
rediscovery. Yes, it was laid out there at the beginning. Then it
Mm.
was tampered with. How we supposed
Yes.
to conduct our lives, how we supposed to conduct business with each other.
Hmm.
How we supposed to take care of each other, and live right before the Father and amongst each other. And all that was removed from us because now, it's by direction of some man that has twisted the scripture, wanting to give you the direction instead of the Father giving you instruction. They changed the directions on you. Now you're going in a wrong path. You're going to end up in a wrong place. You're not going to be too happy with at the end.
I want you to imagine that you have a contract, a very important contract, and this contract deals with your house or deals with things that are very important to you. And somebody translated it from one language to another and then threw away the original. And the people translating it are not your friends. That's where we are, folks.
Yeah.
Except we went and dug up and found originals. And we're catching, and this is part of the awakening that's occurring because when they didn't think you had originals, they could tell you whatever they wanted. But when they found out that you had the originals, then they had to change their story, didn't they? And things got a little interesting. All
Yeah.
right. It's kind of like the January 6 tapes. I heard they just came out. Oops, we're going to find out what really happened. Right. And so all kinds of a light comes out to expose the deeds of darkness because this is what they're afraid of. This is the checks and balances that justice requires, that the kingdom of Alua Hayam requires, that a mouth of two or three witnesses, that a word is established, not in the mouth of one. And so this is a principle of the kingdom that our adversary continues to violate. Violated in the garden, we saw that. He was the only witness with his declaration. He had no second witness. It should not have been received, but it was, and we ended up here. And so now we're finding ourselves the victims of clever machinations, right? Clever trickery,
Mm.
sleight of hand. Didn't the scripture tell us cunning craftiness,
Hmm.
whereby they lie in wait to deceive,
Hmm.
right? Men, they were men would be cunning and crafty, right? And so, what are we waking up to? What's the number one topic that is being talked about out there? Economic destruction that's going on everywhere that everybody's feeling.
Oh,
And you're awakening to the slavery that you're in, that even when you pay things off, brother, when they pay off a house, they don't actually even own it. What's going on here?
no, no, you just have a lease, and and you'll still be paying taxes on it, and and insurance on it, and so you can have. Well, you're just renting it, and
That sounds like a rigged system to me.
oh yeah, oh yeah, it's a
That
Ponzi.
sounds rigged. That's a Ponzi scheme, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the whole
And
thing
so
is.
what has to happen? What's happening is awakening is occurring. People are actually getting free from that, but you got to do it. You can't do it inside their system, because if you do it inside their system, listen, you can never get free from within. You have to have one who is without pull you out. That's why it's so important that we get the log out of our own eye, so that we can see clearly to remove the speck from our brother's eye. Isn't that right, brother?
Absolutely.
And so we got an article here from the Truthers Journal about Babylonian money magic. I want to come back to this. This is one of our original conversations, folks, about how a modern commercial law is actually based in ancient Babylonian code. Why does this matter? I'll tell you why it matters, because this is the kind of stuff that's bringing curses and preventing you from having that narrow way walk that you really wanted, because there's magic mixed in with this creation. Okay,
Mhm.
there's magic happening here. All right. And you may say, well, where's the magic? Where's that happening? Well, it's happening in places that you and I don't get privy to go see. We don't see the incantations that I heard they do incantations over the bills as they're being printed. Is that true, brother?
Oh, I have
Uh,
no idea. I wouldn't doubt it.
yeah, I
I,
heard they do
I would
incantations
it's
right over the presses,
Satanist.
because
Yes.
they're Satanists, right? That's their religion, and they don't hide it. It's right on the back of their bills.
Yeah.
They're telling you who they are. They tell you who they trust. Okay, who the trust is, who's a party to the trust, and they're creating. Watch this now, guys, and this is why you guys are starting to get awake, because Yahuwah is doing something to awaken you. And this is what I love about. Look at this article. You guys got to get over there. Truthersjournal.com. Definitely get over there and take a look at this. Look at this. You see this right here? I hope you guys can all read that. Let me make it bigger.
I did.
I want you guys to really I want you to just meditate on this for just a second, okay? See what this means right here? That means every single unit of this comes out with a negative sign next to it. Everything that comes out of this has a negative sign next to it, okay? You with me so far? I want you guys to use your new lit up mind. Your mind is being lit by the Ruach. You have the mind of Mashiach, harder to fool you. When you multiply two negatives, what do you get, you brilliant mathematicians? No matter how many times you multiply a negative with a negative, you will never get nothing but another negative.
Negative. Yeah, it's all new. Yeah.
You will never get nothing but another negative. No matter how much you try to multiply it, it's a trap. It always was a trap. It always will be a trap. You can never get a positive from multiplying two negatives. The only way that you can get out of the system is to be outside and have someone pull you out. It's that simple. It's hard because everyone's enslaved. And they created a system that traps you, that keeps you chasing your tail. It's the what do they call that, brother? That what do they call that
Like the
snake?
dog.
The one that bites its own tail. What's they
Like
call
the
that?
dog. You're talking
A
about like.
Boris or area Boris or something like that.
Oh, oh, oh.
That thing that bites its own tail. What's it? That snake.
Snake.
Thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a snake that bites its own tail, right? Okay. So
Well,
they
that's
like
what
the
MIDI is. And
they
that's what.
like having you run around in a circle.
Well, that's what that MIDI is.
Yeah.
It's a snake. You know.
I'm glad you brought that up, by the way.
Yeah, that MIDI
Because
sign.
that's
Looks like an 8 laying down on its belly. But that's what that is, and that's about. I think that's infinity sign, or or something like that. But yeah,
This is another element of this too, by the way, guys. There's a reason why they keep, oh, this video is not available. Well, we'll have to go back
well,
and
you
listen
have
to
to go
it.
to YouTube. There's a click on it. Yeah,
Okay. But the word media or media actually comes from a Greek goddess of
yes,
illusion and sorcery. Yes, thank you, Max. You got it. You got it. That's it. That's what I was talking about. The Ouroboros or whatever. Okay. Um, and it's like a cult symbol and all this stuff. Well, basically, it's a trap. It's a never-ending maze.
yeah,
It's a labyrinth you can't escape from. It's the never-ending story. That kind of thing. You're in a perpetual loop that you can't escape. And what Yahusha does is make the way of escape that we would be able to bear it.
yeah.
And so, but he makes that way a certain way. And so, who is the ones that he makes the way of escape for? Aha, those who are willing to walk what? The
The-
narrow way.
yeah,
The narrow way. Because it's not going to be a big, wide path, right? It's going to be single file, right, brother? It's not going to be, you're not going to have a bunch of friends along with on the narrow way. No, you have to bear your own burden, don't you, brother?
yes,
Every man must bear his own anointing, his own calling. Isn't that right?
yes.
Yeah, and I
And
believe
you have
that
to
this
be consumed
situation
with
is
it, like a fire. You just can't walk half-hearted. You have 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
What
Playing.
about those that think that? What do you think about those? What would you say to those who think that they don't need any help from their brethren? They can just do this whole thing on their own. What do you say to those folks?
Well, well, why would Yahusha send them out two by two?
There's a good one.
Why would he say, if any two or three of you gathered? Uh, if Why would he say, the two olive berries or the two olive trees, or the two sticks being
Mm,
one? You
that's
know,
right. Which
what,
represents entire tribes.
yeah, you know, and so we got to have each other, or we just will not be fruitful. We may look like it, act like it, like the real. Just like I told you many times, you put a corn seed in a greenhouse all by itself, it'll grow a stalk, ears, and leaves and tassel.
Mm-hmm.
You'll
Yep.
you don't get no corn.
Mm-hmm.
You got dirt. It draws up the dirt, and you open up, and it ain't nothing but soot. I've seen it, and so, but now you put two or three in that same environment, it cross pollinates, and that cross pollination is what brings the fruit, and you'll be just like the original that was buried there that came up. But without the
Simple as
other,
that.
see, without Brother Peter, you know, uh, you know, sprinkling some Yahusha on me, and I can maybe sprinkle Yahusha on somebody else,
Right. Right.
and Yahuwah
Together.
has got ministers like bees and birds and the air that helps transport the pollen to get that. It's just not just in the air, the ruach, but there's other agents that's going
Mm,
from plant to plant, working, getting the message from one to the
right.
other so we can bring the fruit. And you got to have each other to do that. And you do it. And if you isolate yourself, cut yourself off, you say, well, I don't need nobody. I can do this myself. And well, go ahead. Good
Yeah, I
luck.
was gonna say, well, yeah,
And I hope you the best. And I'll be praying for you. Okay. So,
there you go.
and
That's decades of experience. Decades. Between the two of us, how many years of experience we talking here? And we're
well,
both saying the same thing.
Sister
Well,
Brenda shared with me a little information today, and I about cracked a rib. And she said, she said, you know, you know, with age, if I can get it right, let's see if I can dig it up real quick so I can read it right. They say with age comes wisdom. So therefore, I don't have wrinkles. I have wisecracks. Thank you, Brenda. I needed that.
I don't have wrinkles. I have wisecracks. That's right.
Yeah, I have wisecracks.
Oh, that's funny. Well, it's true. We have to gain that wisdom as we go, and as we do, we learn some things along the way.
Yeah, hard
And
knocks usually.
one of the things that we learn along the way is that the shortcut. So there's two roads. There's the long way, and there's the really long way. Okay, there's two ways to get to someplace. There's the long way and the really long way. Okay, and
Sing it
a shortcut is a disguise of the really long way. That's what a shortcut is. So the shortest path is always the long way. Just do the long way. Just embrace it. Do it the right way. Do it the long way. Do it the hard way.
Oh,
Get that
I can
embrace.
testify that to that. That when I first moved out here, now I'm way out in the sticks, and I'm going to this little Pentecostal church because Yahweh told me to get to know my neighbors and just help them. Don't give them no money, just help them into technology, with the computer and the sound. Help them just to get to know each other. So, anyways, so I was needing to go see my sister, and I've been going the long way around you know, to get to her, because it was over an hour, 15 minutes getting there. And so, but there's a girl that was going to church there, worked at a restaurant, at a fish house,
Mhm.
in the town. And she said, "Oh, there's a short way to go. Take this shortcut." And she didn't know the name of the roads. And so she said, "Go down, where you're at, go down the road and take a right, go to the end of there, cross the bridge, take a right,
Oh, I'm sure this
and I'm
turned
writing
out
all
great.
that down. And I said, "Well, I can figure that out." And I got there to my sister's in like 40 minutes. I said, "Oh, this is cool. I can do this." But I failed to take a pencil and write the names of the road that I'm supposed to turn on. I figured I could just go backwards, on this here note that I wrote down with no names. Only it took me 4 hours to get back home. I thought I was going to run out of gas before I ever got there. I'm rolling in on
Who saw
fumes.
that coming? Who saw that coming?
I'm running in on fumes. Couldn't turn up my road. Had to go on in New
Yep.
Haven to get gas to get home.
Wow.
Oh, I said, me and my shortcuts.
Me and my shortcuts, right? Okay, we learn.
No
And
shortcuts.
and the other thing that we also learn is that um selfish never wins. Self-centered never wins.
No.
Even if you were to accomplish something with selfish motives or self-centeredness, you will implode even if you were successful. It's a horrible form of success. It's the worst form, and it's
I
the one
know
that
it's
you eat.
going to
You
be
literally
idle.
eat
You
yourself.
want to be the idol. You want to be
Exactly.
the one to be in admiration instead of Yahuwah.
That's right. And so, but when you care for your brethren, as Mashiach said, and you are a person who loves your brother and who
You prefer them
uh,
yourselves.
exactly, you're always acting that way, and that Ruach of Yahuwah is in you to Baruch your brethren. That is when you will embrace narrow roads differently because you're no longer focusing on yourself or preserving yourself. I mean, it seems to me that that's the big thing that the illusion, if you will, the illusion, it's us getting our eyes off of ourselves and coming into the reality that we are connected as a body, aren't we, brother? And so
Yes.
one is actually affecting the other. One is honored. We are all honored if we're connected, aren't we, brother?
Yeah. When one part of the body hurts, it all hurts. I was frying. You know, y'all. Sister Mindy sent me a bunch of chicken.
Mm.
And I had a freezer that's loaded of fresh, homegrown chicken, and I've been eating on it, through the since it's been here. but that's my special meat, and so it's special occasion. But now I need to clean it up and I need to get it up. So I've been getting real busy eating up chicken every day. And we got a bag of wings already thawed out, going to make some hot wings. And I was putting some in that in some hot grease, after I battered it up. And I'm gonna fry up my wings before I get the hot sauce on it and all. And man, I splashed that grease on my middle finger. Boy, you talking about saying howdy do. Man, I'm throwing the cold water on it, throwing the alcohol, everything I
You talking
can.
about saying how to do.
Man, a lot.
I was doing voice impressions today, and yours was one of them. I was doing your voice impression. I can't ever get that one though, because you just do some. You say some of the. Talking about saying howdy do.
When I went to get immersed down in Florida, 14 years ago or more, and a congregation invited me down there to be immersed, and I mean people come from all over. I had 35 people more there, and no, and I'm just being me. and the preacher there says, you remind me of Forrest Gump. Instead of mama says, it's grandma. Grandma says, instead of mama says, it's grandma.
You remind me of Forrest Gump. That's funny.
Yeah. I said, well, I'm not Forrest, but I did teach Forrest everything he knows, though.
He helped me with the Truther's Journal.
Run, Forrest, run.
That's right. One of the things we told you all, April 2014, he gave me 10 things we'd see before the coming of the King. One of those things that in 2014, I looked like a lunatic saying this. Okay, I want y'all to know that I did not. It was not a list that I was like, hey guys, take a look at this. It was one of those, oh boy, I got to put this out there. I got to put this list out there. 2014.
Write it down.
You with me, guys? And so I wrote it down and I put it out obediently. And one of the items on this list was mainstream. The UFO phenomenon would go mainstream. Okay? Boy, oh boy, have I ever been vindicated by that list, okay, is vindicated in every possible way. And that was probably the wildest one on that list, I thought. I thought that, to me, it stood out as kind of the weirdest thing. Don't you think, brother, that you saw that list, so you know what I'm talking about. And there were some pretty extraordinary things on that list.
Yes.
But that one, the fact that it would go mainstream, that they're now pointing at the sky and saying to everybody,
Space Patrol, got a Space Patrol now.
what's going on here, right? And
Putting
Yahusha told me, he gave me the list. So I know for a fact he gave me the right list. So I'm like, well, everything's on this list is happening, because I knew that was like, what mainstream media is going to talk about UFOs? Right. Okay. This we got to see, like, really.
Yeah,
I mean, I believed, I knew the word was true, but that people are going, when they saw it in 2014, they were going, yeah, right, Peter. Yeah, right. And I was like, well, that's what he told me.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So I wrote it down, and lo and behold, he was right.
Yeah.
He was right. He said it.
The chemtrails and the stuff, how they was poisonous.
Oh, no, they were denying everything. Remember, guys, 2014, they weren't admitting nothing.
Yeah.
They weren't admitting nothing. Okay. Yeah. They weren't talking about none of this.
And we're food, and now they're starting to notice, had to admit now, when other countries won't even eat the food we are eating.
Oh, it's worse than that. It's in literally every sector. This system is being isolated by the nations that are awakening to the double dealing and the underhandedness that's been going on. And so those of us in the West, a lot of people are waking up going, hey, we got a problem here. We really do. And folks, I'm thankful that we are seeing an awakening now, because again, this was prophesied to come, that his people would return to his name. and return to his ways and
Yeah.
return to the Torah and the commandments, and
Mm-hmm.
in the begin as an indicator also of the coming of the king. So what we're seeing in the revival of with the use, for example, of his name, the scriptures and the Restine, for example, where restoration is occurring, the assembly of his people together, the rise of the 12 stone altar on North American soil, the horn that was blown in 2015. How many number of congregations now that are awakening all over the earth, that are now popping up all over social media? I'm seeing more and more groups that
Yeah.
are declaring his name. I'm
Yeah.
seeing more and more small
Standards
groups,
of
some
righteousness.
very large groups that are getting thousands, tens of thousands of people in some of these groups. I'm glad I'm not administering those. I'm grateful for those that have
Ooh,
the anointing for that.
yeah.
Those are big, big numbers. You're talking tens of thousands. I saw one group. What's going on, brother? There's an awakening happening, isn't there?
Yes, very much. A stirring in the soul. And it's grassroots, you know, ground
Mm,
floor. It ain't stopping.
mm,
It ain't starting at the top. It's starting right
no,
here
it's not
at
that.
the bottom where the leather meets the ground, where the rubber meets
That's
the
right.
road. And Yahoo is raising up an army in these last days, I believe, and you were, I believe, you're called to be part of that army, Joel's army, where your your young men and your young and your daughters shall prophesy. Y'all shall
That's
see
right.
visions. And hello, you'll be running through a troop and leaping over a wall.
Come on.
That's you,
That's
children.
right.
That's
That's
who
right.
you're talking about, and you're the boot. You're the boots on the ground. You're the
That's
one that's
right.
carrying this word. You're his feet. You're his hands, and you're his body right here, and you're representative right there, and your home, and you know, and your life, and your circle that you know work with and live around.
And people are seeing it too. They're seeing a difference, and
They
those that are starting to come into the things of
they
the
know something
kingdom
different.
and walking in his ways, beginning to walk, keep, for example, his commandments, especially the Sabbath, especially the things that he commanded. I know economically, people that are honoring him are seeing a different result than others. They're getting actually free from this negative system, whereas others are not. They're going around in a circle. So if your ministry, okay, is not giving you that way of escape, then there's something wrong, and maybe that ministry needs to
Oh,
come to New Kingdom, right?
well, chances are they
And
must
get
be a
that way of escape.
501c3, and if they
There you
are,
have it.
they need that money. They need to keep you in that system and keep you in the loop because the lifeblood of a corporation is money. This
Well,
Babylon,
they have to stay inside the jurisdiction that they're in. So because they were
yeah,
created by a jurisdiction, watch this now, guys. Watch this. Because they were created by a jurisdiction, they can never leave that jurisdiction. For a disciple can never be greater than his master. Because this house was not formed by them, was not formed inside their parameters. It was forged by the king himself, called me to the Sea of Galilee, to the very origin of the household of faith, to start again what he wanted started then, to declare it again, to gather the remnant again, not under their authority nor asking their permission, but in fact standing on the opposite hill from all of them and blowing the trumpet. When they were on Capitol Hill, we were on the Kadosh Hill opposite the East Gate. The very moment that the Pope came to blow his big horn and blow his big mouth in Congress, when he began to speak, that's when we were on the Mount of Olives blowing the trumpet for your Jubilee. He didn't listen to the Pope, he heard the remnant. He heard the remnant. And so the remnant have won the day. He granted judgment on behalf of the sons of Alua Hayam. But you have to execute that judgment. You have to hand it to the sheriff and have them execute the judgment. There is a process for that. And this is what you are all learning. You are learning your legal position. You're
yeah,
learning that you are not under their jurisdiction, that we are not subject to, nor did we have to ask their permission to be formed or forged or to stand upon their fiction. We don't have to ask their permission for that, for they are fiction after all. They don't even exist. So why should we ask their permission to exist when they don't exist? That makes no sense. That's just illogical. And yet that's exactly what these who are hirelings have done. The blind leading the blind when they should have asked different questions. But don't be afraid, because New Kingdom is here, and you have a new place to file your papers, and a new place to get your ordination, and a new place to be recognized, where you don't have to be submitted to the Pope or to the Vatican, but instead you can come unto the name that is above every other name, the altar that he has himself provided, and be associated with your brethren who preach the everlasting gospel without compromise. So
And
the
then
choice is yours.
and if you do that, then you're breaking ties with Great Britain for sure.
That's right,
Right,
because there's New
right now,
Kingdom
as long as
and
you're
there's something
with the
else.
Federal Reserve. Now, remember, the Federal Reserve is what a Rothschild note.
Mhm.
Rothschild is what they are knights of the Vatican. They are knights of the British Crown. They are Ashkenazi Jews.
So you got your Vatican with London and with Washington D.C. in this threefold
City
cord, if you
state,
will. This
three city states.
three city state abomination, which we of course oppose and stood against on the Hill and blew the trumpet to declare their end and to declare their demise, because they would not give you your jubilee.
Yeah.
And the jubilee is something they are not empowered to prevent. They are not the originators of it, therefore they do not govern it. And I called the avenger of the jubilee. I called my father, and he answered, and that's why they haven't been very good since. And now he's ripping their house to pieces. He's tearing it to the very ground.
Didn't it
He's
say that it
reducing
would
it.
come down? The
He's
ones that
reducing
built on
it.
the house that built on sand is going to fall.
Yeah,
And this
he's
is what
reducing it to rubble right now. As we speak, the Federal Reserve is wrapped in plastic. He's letting them know who really runs his earth. And he's rising upon you. His light is arising, as my brother earlier said, is arising on you, because you are his governors. You are his kings and priests. You are the ones he intends to empower. You are the ones that will govern. When the Zadok rule, the people live in shalom. Okay? And so he needs you to be empowered so that you can take command of these things in his Ruach, and they will run the way they're supposed to run. This is the way earth was meant to run, under his authority, through his servants. Okay, who would obey him, and when he called for fruit, they would give it, and when he called them to command them to assemble, they would assemble. So only people that are going to survive this entire testing process are people who are willing to walk the narrow way. Everybody else who's got their hand on their hip, who's snapping their fingers, who disobedient, who disrespect, who dishonor, who walk in fear, doubt, and unbelief, they have their place. He's made a place for them. It isn't a good place, but they have their place according to the scripture. So we who are alive and remain after the removal of the wicked Enoch describes, we will be translated, and we will be united with our brethren who have gone before us. But it will be an earth filled with those who are willing to know him. For he says, they will all know me, from the least to the greatest. They will all know me. Won't that be wonderful? You won't have to tell anybody, know Yahuwah. They all know him.
yeah,
Isn't that a wonderful, isn't that the earth you want
right.
to live on?
Walking in harmony with his creation and with the Father, and working together
That's right.
and and function
He
how
warned
it's
us.
supposed to meant to be.
He warned us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of darkness. These rulers have exacted a toll on you and taken your time. Remember that he told us to redeem the time, for the days are evil. And your enemies have set up a system that legitimized their occult ways, and they did so to enslave you. But the day star is arising in our hearts, and according to his word, he would lighten upon us and give us wisdom and understanding in these last days. And that's precisely what's happening. And this is one of the things that was on the list as well, that alternative currencies would rise, that he would start to cause the demise of their system, and that the rise of alternative things would cause them to have to then give an accounting that they otherwise wouldn't give under a monopoly. Their monopoly is now over. And as a result, now they have an accounting that they have to give. This is a wonderful day, but it is also a day that many are ruing. And that's why you're seeing so much turbulence, because light, well, light has a way of making cockroaches scurry, doesn't it, brother?
Yeah. Brother, you're talking about a debt, based, you know, uh, system that we're in. I
Mm.
was in junior high. I might have been, I don't, about 14, maybe 15 years old. And
Hmm.
I remember when MasterCard first came out with their
I
credit card.
remember that. I remember that.
And and Yahoo was already working on me as a child, quickening me with all kinds of stuff pouring in me through junior high and high school, in my early days, because I was seeking him. He says, "You'll seek me, you'll find me," and I was finding him. And
That's
and
just
right there,
double layered it.
he quickened in my heart right there. He says, we'll go into a cashless society. I saw that way back then, and we hadn't even have computers yet. His dots. Anybody that had it, and it was business, maybe IBM, the big boys maybe had some kind of a computer. And
Best thing that ever happened to us is to get rid of the cash. The cash is absolutely horrible. It's the worst thing. It's the worst of all the things we've ever used as currency. The amount of filth that is on a dollar bill is absolutely disgusting. Drugs are on them. There's all kinds of things that are on them. That's absolutely a foul system of commerce. It's an analog system that failed, frankly, failed 50 years ago. They've been kicking it down the road ever since, folks.
yeah,
And now what we're seeing is the repercussions of that are coming home to roost. And that's a good thing. And it's not just about that. Again, remember, it's about who are we submitted to? Or a better way to say that is, who do you trust?
yeah.
Who do you trust?
Well,
Okay.
now you're
That's a
talking about,
very, very big thing in this hour. Go ahead, brother.
yeah. Look at the study. All roads leads to Rome, and it will
Mm.
teach you about the trust system. And
Hmm.
how we're under the trust, and that all of your bar certified attorneys works for the crown, children. They don't work for you; they work for the crown. And
Which
so
even the king of England found out was not necessarily the king. They found out the crown was not actually the king,
that's
which
right.
is a very stunning thing to find out. They thought the crown, they thought they were the crown. They're like,
Yeah,
I wear the crown. No, you are just the you're just the executive for the moment. The
yeah,
crown is, it goes way beyond you. And that's the way they began to, this happened in the 1600s. They were separating this, and they started to make the kings understand that if they didn't play ball, they would
yeah.
end up like Charles the First, right? End up
And
losing
during
their
that
head.
time and era, that's when they created the British crown.
Hmm.
Well, not the British crown, but a pound. And during that time was when they set up the decimal system for the dollar in the United States during that
Yeah,
time.
and you be careful with people that are trying to redouble you down. Remember that a lot of these people are don't even know that they're agents of the system that they're in. So they'll tell you, "I'm staying in cash with the occult symbols. I'm staying in cash with the occult symbols on it." Just remember what you're saying, okay? Because you're saying, "In Gad I trust." All right, I don't want nothing to do with your cash. You can have your cash. I will be happy to be cashless. Thank you very much. You guys got all tricked into fighting for something that you didn't even create or print. And if you did print it, would you be putting occult symbols all over it? Would you do that? No, you wouldn't. So
Yeah,
that ain't ours. That belongs to them. We got tricked into valuing it by them putting it where? In media.
yeah,
Media. What does she do? adultery. She gets us in seduction, seducing men of seduction. What did the scripture tell us? Evil men and seducers, waxing worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. So they got us to trade these basically occult tarot cards. May as well be a darn tarot card when you really look at it. Okay. And would y'all play with Ouija boards and trade those? They talked us into doing that. And now we're waking up going, wow, how did we ever fall for this craziness? No wonder y'all can work 50 years. Y'all can work 100 years. Y'all can work 1,000 years in their system. It won't matter. You will never get free.
No.
You will never get free. Okay. So anybody who's telling you, oh, don't believe that, you stay here with us, they're keeping you in jail. That's like saying, don't escape from prison, or the abuser, no, we better stay here because he's going to come home and he'll be real mad. Yeah. When you got a window right there open, you better get through that window. Okay. And then you got some dude going, oh no, y'all better not leave, you better stay here, you're going to make Massa real mad. Oh, you're going to get Massa real mad at you if you run away now. Oh, I don't know if y'all should leave the plantation. Right? You got them people.
Well, we're all free-range prisoners, debt slaves in
not
this.
Me. Not me. I don't know about you, but there's that. You can't say that about this house. I'm sorry, but we're slaves to no one. Yahushua has set us free. That flag's in the ground.
Talking about, fella trying to, trust in the paper, and I know a fella.
Oh, yeah.
I know a fella down the road, maybe about 50 minutes from me. I used to know him, with acquaintances, and I don't say friends. I didn't. I thought we were friends, but
yeah, that didn't work out.
So
didn't work out.
And he has a big old safe. He keeps his valuables in, and now he made mention. I don't know if it's true or not. I never seen it. He said, he has $10,000 tucked back in that safe. And he's got security fence all around him. He's got cameras all around him. He's just up in that little trailer of his, junked up, thinking somebody's going to get his stuff, and I told him, I said, buddy, you know what you're going to have to do with that $10,000? You're going to either have to burn it to keep yourself warm, or use it for striking paper, because that's all it's going to be good for when it comes to the end.
It's dropping like a rock, and it's just a note, folks. It isn't even money. They tricked you into thinking it was. They called it money, and they made you believe it was. But Medea, she went to work on you and told you it was money. But if you read it, it actually says note. I ain't got time to help you guys with that. You should go do a little homework on Black's Law Dictionary.
It from a silver and gold certificate to a Federal Reserve note, and that's when the
actually that was 1974. So it was actually. That was when it came off the silver certificate standard. And that was 50 years ago, folks. So we're at the end of that Jubilee period. So can you understand why we're like, you guys are not putting us back under a spell. You are not putting us back under another 50 years of this. No, you're done. And no, we don't want anything from you. As far as we're concerned, you should take a walk, right? So we're all waking up to this reality. But like my brother said, you can't criticize without remedy. Criticizing without remedy just creates frustration. So how many of you have ever been criticized without remedy? Where somebody just tells you doing something wrong, but doesn't tell you how to fix it, or doesn't give you a solution or a way of escape. All right. All that produces is frustration.
Yeah.
And this is it's an abuse, and it's a cruelty.
Yeah.
It's sadistic to do that to somebody. Actually, did you know that that's sadism? It is sadistic to point out a problem. Are you hearing me, folks? So some of you have sadistic people that want to call themselves your friends. And when someone tells you about a problem, but has not thought long enough about how to fix or present a solution to that problem, that person needs deliverance from sadism. That person has some serious problems. And I'll tell you why. Because to present a problem to someone without having spent any time on solution says that you don't actually care about either the problem or the person. You only care about sounding correct or finding fault. There is no value in that.
Yeah.
What we need are solutions. So if you're going to present the problem, also present with it potential solutions to that problem. That's just free somebody, and that's a sound mind, by the way. So it's insane to only complain. Okay? It's
Yeah.
insane to only complain. This is why Yahuwah finally said to the generation in the wilderness, "We're done with you," because they had reached a point where he said, "I'm done."
Yeah.
Okay, even he said, "I'm done." So that's not a good place to get to,
That's
where
right.
you resist his will, resist his will, resist his will until he says he's done. So that is what happened to them, and I believe it's because when you cannot complain yourself to reigning. That's another one. Okay, you can't complain to reign. That's not going to work. You need to obey, and that's the right way.
Yeah.
And so that's narrow way. That's what we have to learn, is how to just be obedient, how to do what he tells us. We find out after we obey how right he is.
Yeah.
Only after. Usually it's after we go, okay, and we're going to do this, and then we go, oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know this. I didn't know this. Well, you won't know until you're obedient. You know, if he told you everything he was going to do for you, then you would do it for rewards, not because of your heart. So he wants to see your heart. He wants to know that that's genuine. And the question is, how do you treat your brother? How many people are out here only looking at trying to get themselves into a good place or have more berakah? Brother, we need to be more concerned about our brethren, don't we?
Yeah. Well, they don't want to be that good Samaritan, do they?
What's going on with that?
Yeah.
That is something that I do want to say to all the believers, and especially those coming into his name. Don't forget the message that Mashiach said, that we are to look at our brother who is beaten and harmed and not walk by judging or asking harsh questions, but just help. And I do believe that we need to have that kind of heart. Don't you, brother? Don't you believe that needs to make a massive comeback right now?
That's how we plant in people's lives and hearts, in their
Mm.
minds, into their lives. And that's how you're going to, reap, good, fruit from that. You see,
Mm-hmm.
that fella, once he restores, and, I'm sure he was been very grateful for what that fella done. And you know what? He probably have a different mindset too now. Next time
Mm-hmm.
he walks by and sees somebody,
Right.
he'll remember what
Oh,
that.
oh, paying it forward. Yeah, paying it forward becomes a lot more likely now, right? There you go. I mean, you're going to see him paying it forward. He's going to be a blessing himself.
Because I remember when I was down, and
Mm.
everybody, all the big shots walked by me. But there was one feller that nobody liked and cared for because he's a Samaritan. He's a mixed, he's a hybrid. He's a mixed blood, and and they looked down on that Samaritan, all the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Pharisees and uppity guys.
Mm.
But it was that feller that was looked down.
Mm.
Samaritans wasn't looked at as a good person.
Right.
They was treated like dogs. But that dog
Yeah.
had compassion on that feller, and Yahuwah had more favor on that feller.
Mm.
That was an Ephraimite. That was an Israelite. That lost their way. That
Mm-hmm.
wasn't Yehuda. That was Ephraimite. You see, and
Mm-hmm.
lost his way, but still had that heart and the compassion and the love for those that are hurting to save that soul.
That's right.
We need that
That's
compassion
right.
to save a
Man,
soul.
when we lost that, we've lost it all. Like that's it.
Yeah,
Now you're gone. Now you
yeah,
really are gone. You don't even have compassion for your brother. You can walk by and they're hurting on the ground.
yeah.
For a fact,
You
he
may
began
be
to
treated
speak to
like a
me.
dog, but that don't mean you have to treat somebody like a dog. See, because he's a
That's right.
Samaritan and was mistreated, he could have walked by and said, "Well, there's somebody lower than me. I'm bigger than them. Let me just kick them while they're down." No, he didn't do that. He tried to
Yeah.
lift him up, get him out of that ditch. Are we lifting anybody out of the ditch, children? Or are we just pounding
That's
them?
the answer. And that's part of the deal. And that's one of the things that really bothers me personally is, again, talk is cheap. It's easy to say a lot, but it's another thing to perform and to do things that perform. Speaking of performing, a quick update. We tried to give you this guys last week, but we couldn't quite give it up. I wanted to get a couple of people that are on the SKL New Kingdom SKL train. which is a solution and a way of escape. This is an equity-based system, not debt. So one penny of SKL is worth more than all of theirs, for it is positive, not negative. And let's see, 2 weeks up 35%. 12/5 was their start date. They're up 44%. One is up 7.66% today. Let's see. I'm just getting stats. These are just stats. Start date 12/9. SKL up 40% for one of them. I'm not giving names, just telling you stats. SKL up 64.55% in 10 days. That's one of the children, one of the young teenagers of one of our family members who got really excited and kind of jumped in and said, "I want to do this." I don't actually, maybe older than teenager. Actually, I think he's in his 20s. Actually, I apologize, not a teenager, a young man, but nevertheless, got excited, and he's doing really well. So across the board, it's what they're doing is they're beta testing to prove that it in fact can handle all weather, so to speak. So they're just taking it out for a spin and doing great results. As a result of that, it's really, really coming in well. And I just want to encourage those of you that want more information about that to come on over to our discussion board at remnanthouse.org/family. You can get more information there, or on Facebook. If you find us there, shoot us up a note. We'll connect you with Pastor Paul Spitz, and he will happily walk you through that. So really great results. And again, we don't want to talk about problems without talking about solutions.
There you go.
And we need solutions. We need the way of escape. And it isn't going to be broad and wide. It's going to be narrow. And the barakah will be upon it, but you have to have the courage to trust him.
Well,
That's not something everybody can do. They're
that's part
used
of
to a
the cutting
system.
of the wick.
Yep.
When the message went forward to the virgins, and no, and they did wake up, and what was the first thing they did was what, trimmed the lamps.
Mm-hmm.
That means that wick that they burnt, the night before, that they was walking in and did fine. Now here it is, and they need light.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if they just tried to light up and burn that wick and not trim it? All you get is smoke, smoldering smoke, and you don't get no illumination. You don't get no light. What they have to do is cut what they walked in yesterday. What they saw yesterday ain't going to work today.
That's right.
So we got to
It's a
cut
new
it.
day.
And
It's
that,
a
and
new
that, and
day.
that, and that cutting is a circumcision of the heart, because only we got a heart connection to that dollar, because,
Mm.
and so it takes a cutting, the
It's
circumcision.
all of it. It's not just that. It's the movie theaters. It's the food. They tied you to the music. They
Uh,
tied you to the
there,
times of year. Now, what's the most wonderful time of the year? You all go dun dun dun
it's got to
dun dun
cut.
dun dun dun
Got to cut.
dun, right? Because they did all this to you. So this is all warfare that now has to be pulled out of you. These are
Yeah,
all things that have to be removed because they're contaminating the way in which you process your experiences. So
yeah,
that instead of walking by faith and courage through things with obedience, yes, like David said, instead, what you're doing is you're mitigating all of the word that you hear from Yahuwah through a lens provided by media, a
yeah,
lens provided by the world. They're
yeah,
filtering the word of Yahuwah now. This is
yeah.
why you're choked by the cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches, and the
Hmm.
lust of other things. We need a clear connection.
Hmm.
So these things have to be moved out of the way as we see what they really are.
Yeah,
When you see the ruse for the ruse that it is, okay? When you are aware of the way that they are simply swapping one form of debt for another form of debt, one form of bondage for another form of bondage, one form of sin for another form of sin, and you're never aware of this switcheroo. So you think you're improving, but it's like going from one pharmakia to another pharmakia. You're still on pharmakia.
yeah,
You're never getting free. They
yeah.
say, oh, well, you're not going to take this drug anymore. Isn't that great news? Now you just have to take this drug.
Yeah.
How's that any better?
Yeah.
It isn't. You see what I mean? And that's how their mind works. And that's what you're getting free from. You guys are getting free from a false dichotomy that it's A or B. And Yahuwah is saying, no, it's neither of those two. It's actually over here. And that is what's blowing the circuitry, is because he's not letting them get away with it's only these two over here. It's just these two choices. And he's going, no, 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 neither one of
From
these are
that right
true.
paradigm that
Yeah.
they trapped in. Yeah.
And so the children are getting it. The children, let me tell you, the good news is the children, the young people, they're getting it right away.
Oh
They
yeah.
get it right away. They're seeing right through the scam. As soon as you tell them, they're like, Radonites, Babylonians,
Yeah.
we see you, right? We see what you did
Oh,
here. The young ones are getting it right away. It's the
sure.
older generations that
Yeah.
have been heavily indoctrinated by media,
That's
by
the,
Hollywood, right, brother?
yeah.
By all of the things that they're
Politics,
Netflixed out. They're
sports.
zombied by Netflix. Oh my goodness. Zombied by Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay. 50 side effects with 50 shades of gray of side effects, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Disgusting side effects.
Yeah.
Why? And then add in the music. The bump and grind, bump, 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 bump and
The
grind,
flicker,
all this music.
the light flicker that hypnotizes you and sends subliminal messages to you. They're still doing that.
All of this is to keep you inside
Matrix.
their matrix. Because once you get outside and their tricks aren't working as well or whatever, you wake up.
Yeah.
You start to wake up. It's like drinking non-fluoridated water, okay? Or whatever. If you ever get off caffeine, you got to get through the first few days of the headache. Then after that, you go, wow, how come I'm feel like I'm thinking clearer? I feel like, yeah, because caffeine was actually messing with you. And
Yeah.
fluoride, wow, you get off of that, you're gonna feel like you're brilliant. You're gonna feel like you're a genius. You're gonna
Yeah.
feel like, wow, how come wow, how am I moving so much faster? I feel like I'm moving a million miles an hour. They're not drugging you anymore. The drugging has to stop. And you're going to find out as you get free that, wow, they have preventing you from going down the narrow road. They were trying desperately to keep you in their prison.
Yeah.
And this is the narrow way, is the way of escape, guys. That's what the narrow road is. It's the way out of that circle loop that goes on forever. And I mean, we're seeing multiple generations, people that 10 generations deep, secret societies and sold out to the devil, 10 generations deep. Okay. That's who you're up against. And they're not playing either. They're committed to what they're doing.
Yes.
They're committed to it. All right. So you better believe that they're not going to be like half-hearted. They know they're fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
They know. Believe me. They saw that guy. What was that CEO, that billionaire? They saw him get killed. Believe me, they're all now afraid, right? Because they're like, oh boy, what's going on? Yeah, because the atmosphere is all changing. Very dangerous now.
Yeah.
Perilous times have come, like the scripture warned us. And he said he is the way of escape. Tell him, brother, he is the only way of escape.
Yes. And I think they're planning on another pandemic, and another lock-in coming up. They're forecasting, and predict, well, how they do that, and the next disease, the latest, and so
I lock myself in on Kadosh land.
yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good.
I locked myself in.
And
I'm
so,
good.
but the thing is this: those that's going to take the newest, fad, on the newest gimmick of the healing solution that they're going to come up with, is going to be just another snake bite, a lot worse, and we're going to even see more sudden, dropping of people. But you see, when you're having when you're a corporation and you're broke, and you're going to broke, and you sell off your assets, you have a fire sale, you start getting rid of stuff. Well, what is the
Or
stuff?
collect insurance. That's another
$200,000
one.
a pop on each head that drops. So they're getting a payoff. So they'll milk you with all you got and keep you alive until they get every penny they can, your property, and then suck up all your little dollars you've been trusting on, and then when they can't
Well,
get
those all belong to them. That's my point. Is
when they
that
can't milk
is
that
that
cow no more, then they'll put her to the slaughterhouse.
that's the plan? Because the people that stay too long in Babylon end up judged accordingly. This is one of the things that we're now waking up and realizing is that they geofence people in. That's why certain things won't work outside their jurisdiction. So they have a jurisdictional line. They want to pretend it's all over the world because that's part of the intimidating bluff. But the reality is they have borders just like everybody else. And if you're inside their turf, well, then that's the rules apply. But if you're not, well, then it's a different story. And so there's a lot of world outside their turf. But the point is, you have to be courageous. Many people are trying to enjoy the benefits of the wilderness journey while staying on a comfy couch in Egypt or Babylon. It's just not the way it works. And so the narrow road is a road of courage. The narrow road is a road of faith that Abraham walked,
Mm-hmm.
that he went looking for a city whose builder and maker was Elohim Hayam. And so he did not sit still waiting for it to come to him, but went looking for. And I do believe that that's one of the telltale signs that people are sincere, is they're not just sitting back waiting, but they go looking or pursuing. For he said, ask, seek, and knock. He meant keep asking, knock and keep knocking, seek
Keep
and
on,
keep
yeah,
seeking, right? Not just one time. In fact, in Hebrew culture, what we learned is that it's very common to deny you more than twice because it's a test to see how sincere you are about the thing you're requesting. And how many people gave up after one or two requests because the person who they were requesting wanted to know that they were sincere?
yeah,
How many times do we give in too easily and say yes to people who haven't really developed the resolve to do the thing they're asking for permission to do? There's a lot of wisdom in that. And so there's a lot of wisdom in pursuing and persisting and being determined. And I do believe that's part of the narrow way as well. What do you thought? What do you think, brother?
well, didn't the master tell us, anybody that sets their hand to the plow and to look
Mm,
back not fit for the kingdom?
that he sure did say that.
So
He sure did say
when
that.
you put your hand to the plow, I know you'll get tired and you might have to stop for a moment and
Mm,
catch your breath and let your back rest, but you don't look back. You bear back down in it and you sweat it out and
right.
you start running that plow in there so you can plant you something good. And it takes work. It
And
takes
there's work exactly, and there's work involved in getting free, even in Revelation. Like there's times when you have to really press in your mind. And man, I watched, for example, this last couple of weeks, some folks that were being introduced to some new concepts, and they had been so used to a certain way the world worked that when they started to see something they hadn't seen before, they weren't sure how to process it. And our enemies had done already poisoned so many things in our minds and thinking that we have to get over. They called evil good and they called good evil on purpose. So
yeah,
it's to stigmatize things that they didn't want us to understand or know about. And that helped us stay enslaved. But the scriptures tell us that my people perish for a lack of what? Knowledge.
yeah,
Because of what you don't know, you are being enslaved by those who know the trick that's enslaved you. Okay. And so I've watched people literally look like I'm sure they're sleeping great too. Those folks in that beta group are sleeping phenomenal because their brains are so tired. I'm not kidding. I've slept the best in the last 2 weeks. I've slept in a while because my brain is tired. By the time I get to the end of the day, I've used a lot of my brain to process some not only what I'm seeing in this breakthrough, but also what he's bringing in revelation and understanding that we're going. The implications of what he's doing here have implications everywhere.
yeah,
Wow. And we're literally having circuits blown as we're watching him decimate their old system through light by just telling you how it actually works,
yeah,
by exposing the magic trick.
yeah,
You're no longer impressed by the magician. The
yeah.
Babylonian magician ain't so impressive when you
Hey,
know
come
the
in jerk
tricks.
off the Wizard of Oz. Toto done pulled the curtain on them.
Okay. And now you know how it works. And you guys, let me tell you something. We were talking about this. My brother David will tell you. Okay. He's on the chat here. We're talking about this 1998, 97. We're talking about the straw man, the all caps name, the the entire Babylonian maritime system and how they implemented that over the
Yeah,
blindness of the people that and implemented it, got you convinced that you're under a constitution, folks, that you're not even a party to.
yeah,
You're not a party to that trust. That's why they treat you like a property, because that's what you are in that trust. You aren't a party to that trust.
yeah,
Okay. I hate to break it to you, but they got you thinking something belongs to you that wasn't even yours. They
yeah,
got you reading their family book instead of reading his family book. They
yeah.
got you memorizing their statutes instead of learning his statutes. They got you understanding their laws instead of understanding his law. And as a result of you not knowing his law, they enslaved you with Babylonian laws
There you go. Thank you.
because you didn't know the Torah, because you didn't know the rules, because you didn't know about the usury and why the king prohibits usury. New Kingdom is prohibited in that way. We are not allowed to do that. Well, that's a good thing, because now we don't have to print them. We would never have to print their currency for interest because we don't charge any. So I guess that system will never implode. Whereas if you break his word, well, you just set yourself up for implosion, no matter how small the interest rate, somewhere down the road. That's why he prohibited it. And if you were a mathematician and you just run a spreadsheet, you'd figure that out. It's a mathematical certainty. It always runs out of time. Whereas if you just obeyed the Torah, you'd have never had that problem. So yeah, you said it. He gives us the governance, right, brother, of how we're supposed to do
Well,
everything.
greed would not allow them to do that. The
Right.
greed, they, you know,
I'm glad they did it. They're going to make our exit easier. Okay. Frankly,
yeah,
I'm no longer mad at them because he's given me a special gift. I tend to flip the enemy's tactics on them. It's a bit of a spiritual judo. Okay. We use their energy against them and we throw them over our shoulder. Okay. They're coming at us with a lot of force and a lot of lies and a lot of deceit, but that's to our advantage because they done talked themselves into a corner. And as a result, now they're responsible for the very system they built, for the rules they live by or the rules they'll die by. Okay. And you will always be able to outsmart them because within you is he who they can never trap. And so all you had to do was rely on him and he would show you the way of escape. And now he's revealing it. And there's very sharp people. Some of you right here on the chat that are getting free. You're going, wow, this is crazy. It's all about declarations, papers, how you establish your papers, right? So if you put your papers and you went to them to ask permission to exist, well, aren't they your mama and your papa? Okay. Yeah. But if you like, I exist regardless of whether you like it or not, you ain't my family. You see that? And that was simple. That was easy. So once again, if you go to them to ask them to exist, they your mama and your papa. That was easy. But if you originated out of someplace else, okay, out of the kingdom of Alu Hayam, they don't have jurisdiction over you. They didn't create you. They didn't forge you. They didn't make you. They don't give you your existence or your being.
and they don't
Okay.
get my talents and my
They have no
ability
jurisdiction over it.
or my time.
There is no house, including the Vatican, that sits higher in the earth than New Kingdom. No
Yeah,
house. And so understand that he placed us in that position for a berakah to all of our brethren, to defend you, to
yeah,
protect you, to stand against them in the ruach and say, not on our watch, not today. You are not coming launching witchcraft attacks against our brethren without a counterattack. And that's exactly what he's been doing ever since. So we stand here in position, holding the line, because the promise of your jubilee is on that line. It's on that line, and so we have to hold it until they finally capitulate, until their knee hits the ground, and we hear them say, "What? Every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall swear to the kavod of Yahuwah Sebaot, Yahusha HaMashiach.
is King of
He
Kings.
alone is King of Kings. They will kneel and we will watch it. Amen and amen. That's the day we're in. And that's the hour we're seeing coming our way. It's on its way. And they are mortified because they know their time is short.
Mm.
So, what are we going to do in the meantime? We're going to complain. We're going to sit in their system and play with their cash and act like that's prosperity when it's nothing but a promissory note and it's a debt. No, we're going to cash out. That's what we're going to do. We're going to step out of their deal. We're going to do what he said in Revelation 18, aren't we, brother? We're going to come out of her, my people. That's what you're seeing right now, isn't it, brother?
All three city states. We got to come out all three.
That's right. All three. What does that represent? Let's take a look at that real quick. One is the false ecclesiastic. The other is the false judicial, and the other is the false executive. So one is a false assembly or the false ecclesia or the false assembly, right? The other is the false executive, and the other is the false judicial. Okay, so all three branches of their false system are collapsing. There are three frogs. There are three frogs of the book of Revelation are collapsing because the world is seeing them for what they are. They're being exposed by light. How do I know that that's the agent that he's using? Well, he said so, folks. He warned us. He said that the wicked would be removed by the brightness of the king's coming. That's what he said. The wicked one would be removed by the brightness of the king's coming. So it indicates his brightness, which would precede his arrival, is so bright, is so much light that they can't even handle it, huh, brother? They can't handle the light that's coming from them now.
No, and they can't escape it because light is the fastest moving element known to man.
186,000 miles a second is coming for you.
And right behind it comes second, right on its heels, is heat. That light will come first, then you're going to catch the heat. You'll see it, and it'll get on you before you know it, and then, honey,
like
it ain't going to heat up.
Like a thief in the night.
What
did he say? What did Peter say? The heavens will melt with a fervent heat. Okay, a fervent heat. Light. And what are these boys talking about? They're talking about, oh, we're going to go to war. We're going to fight each other. Oh, we're going to go to war. You better watch out because there's one who will bring war you don't come back from.
Yeah.
All right, there's one that you're asking to come when you keep talking like that. Yeah. Y'all keep talking like that and see what Yahuwah does, right?
There'll be blood running at the horse's bridle, what'll happen.
Listen, and they are bringing, look what they're doing in the Middle East now. All of a sudden, we're seeing Syria folded and Turkey, which is just north of Jerusalem. Turkey, which is just north of Jerusalem, they're coming down, man. Okay? And they want to punish Israel for what they did. So, oh boy, this ain't over yet, folks. This is fitting to get crazy. And the scripture warned us that we would see this, didn't it, brother? We knew that these days were coming, didn't we?
Yes. Sure have.
We knew that they would be arriving. And so, folks, we knew that this would be the day we were in. And I'm thankful that he is bringing us solutions. This is what warms my heart, is that he's not leaving or forsaking us, but making a way of escape so that we can bear it.
Yeah.
That's what the fivefold is about. Yeah. It is about getting you out of these places, these pits. Think of the fivefold as a rescue team. Think of the fivefold as commandos who are special trained. He sends in the apostle, who's a team leader, who gets vision and direction. He sends in a prophet who's sharp, who sees danger in every direction. He sends in pastors who keep the people that they're trying to save together, keeps them safe. He brings in teachers so they lose their ignorance and stop being ignorant of the enemy's devices as they travel. And then he drops in evangelists at the back to make sure any stragglers get picked back up and brought back to the pastors and the teachers. We're meant to work together, brethren. We're a rescue team. That's what we're here for. We're here to come into enemy territory and light them up. We light them up and get people free, who the king sends us in to get. And then hopefully, if they can get free and get out of their damage and things that have happened to them, they too may become part of special forces. And they may be themselves sent in to rescue yet another soul. If you think it's not as serious as that, well, you don't get how serious this war is, what the
Yeah.
stakes are, how hard it is to do, how hard it is to rescue someone from the clutches of the wicked one and have them stay free. That is not as easy as it sounds. And so, thank you to those of you that are doing the hard work of the ministry, the hard work of reaching out to people and are willing to be those good Samaritans. We need more of people like that, don't we, brother?
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, what's your last thoughts for our brethren before we let them go?
Well, I'm glad you asked. That reminded me of a story of the restoration of an eagle, and you can find that on Truther's Journal. And I'll give you a quick rundown. Uh, uh, how the restoration of the eagle takes place. Sometimes a very healthy eagle will get grounded and he'll just stay on the ground. And the eagle's not born to be like a yard bird, like a chicken. So their talons, will mess up and will start cracking and bleeding. They can't get above the storm. And so when it rains and the storm comes, they get wet, they get soaking, their 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 feathers just get real damaged. Now
Hallelujah.
here they are crippled. The feathers are damaged, and because of that, there's a callousness that grows over their beak, and they can't eat. And then they grow a cataracts in the eyes, and they go blind. They're a pitiful bird, and probably if you saw one laying out by a bush somewhere, you probably wouldn't even recognize it as an eagle. But what will happen? A very healthy eagle will go and catch fresh game, and it'll go and drop that fresh meat, that fresh game right there before that grounded eagle, and it will give out an eagle squeal, squall, just as telling it to eat, take strength, make it to your rock, so to speak. And now, if that eagle grounded is if he's afraid and he's scared and he doesn't take that food, that energy, that strength, and just hides under a bush, well, that eagle will die. But if he takes that energy and that nourishment and gains the strength, what he'll do, he'll try to make it back to his rock. Now, remember, he can't fly, he can't walk, he's in a pitiful shape. So what does he do? He'll waller and he'll work it and he'll do, because only eagle will only land and live and die on his own rock. He will not perch on another eagle's rock. And so if he doesn't make it to his rock, he'll die. But if he perseveres, and it's all uphill climb, and he makes it to his rock, the first thing he does, he'll take that beak and he'll just strike it against the rock, knocking that callousness off of his beak. He'll take that beak and he'll start removing feathers off of him that's been damaged all this time. That's no good no more. He'll look to the sun and tears come to his eyes, and Yahuwah restores his eyesight. And after a time, those talons gets healed, those feathers gets refreshed and renewed, and his vision is sharp again, and he's ready to leap out again by faith. And the first thing he does, he go catch fresh game, and he goes finds another eagle that's been grounded, and drops him a fresh meat, fresh word, telling him, take strength, make it to your rock. That's what I want to encourage you tonight, children. You might have felt like that grounded eagle, and you just been beat by the world like crazy. But if you persevere and you keep on and you make it to the rock, he'll remove all that callousness and that blindness out of your life. And you look to him, he'll bring that softness and that vision back into your heart where you can go out and restore other souls that needs help. Yahuwah love you all.
Well, I have to say that was beautiful, and I, for one, again, am thankful. Just another one of those wonderful moments with Papa G. Again, thank you so much for joining us, my brother. It is always a pleasure to have you.
Honored.
Amen. And folks, I just want to thank you, those of you that take the time to join us for these. Wow, that was a really good analogy, and I think that we all can identify with that. And I did not know that the eagle that drops that fresh meat to one that is grounded is one that has just recovered from its own grounding. What a beautiful picture! What a tremendous story! What a tremendous way for us to mount up on wings as eagles, right, and be that way. And remember to pay it forward. Remember that whatever battle you are in, well, your brethren are in battles that are very similar. And he encouraged me recently. Um, there are gifts that we all have and talents that we all have. And he's going to ask us what we did with those talents. He's going to ask us what we did with our strength. And I am so proud. There's not many of them, but the Grandpa Brigade, you have my respect. You have my respect. Those that are our elder brothers and elder sisters, and Grandma Brigade too, that are saying, we're done. We're banding together and we're doing something different than we've ever done before. So proud of all of you for your courage. And I do believe that we need to continue to be an amazing example in this hour of that eagle that pays it forward, that eagle that drops that fresh meat for the recovery of our brethren. For after all, many of them have reached almost the point of death. Some are, they're in a difficult spot. Let the compassion of Yahuwah overwhelm your heart. Those of you that have been trying to go it alone, alone you'll only get yourself killed. So let me invite you to join and combine your strength with the strength of your brethren. Let us invite you to step away from a debt-based fiasco into something that will transform. Let us continue to pursue answers that set people free. For whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Well, again, that's it for tonight. I pray this broadcast has been a barakah to all of you. I know it has been to us, and I can speak on behalf of my brother Gera'el, Toma, to say we're always grateful you stopped by. Well, thank you so much for joining us. May Elohim Baruch each and every one of you, and remember, Yahusha HaMashiach, he alone is King of Kings.